Yo, Vault Hunters, Augiesaint here and welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are doing a fantastic day, and I just want to talk to you guys about firmware. This is something you unlock, I believe it's around like level 30 or so once you're in the story, so you're pretty deep in your unlock firmware, but it doesn't really matter all that much until you hit the end game and you start ranking up your ultimate Vault Hunter ranks. And what they actually do is they give you different buffs, and they can only be found on your equipment, so to say. So you can't find firmware on any of the weapons, you can only find it on your grenade, your enhancement, your shield, your class mod, and then also your rep kit. So that means you can only have 5 different firmware active at one time, and all the firmware have a 3 set. As you look here on the left, this is going to be your active firmware. We have bullets to spare. This is giving us 5% gunfire rate, and we're getting 20% magazine size, but then the 3 set is giving us gunfire rate is increased by 50% of our gun magazine size. If you have like a really big magazine size in one of your guns, like I do right here, this is 91 bullets, and I have a bunch of other stuff, the fire rate on this thing just becomes absurd. Let me show you guys what this gun can do just with that firmware. See, that goes pretty fast, and then I also have my skill that I can re-trigger and activate for more fire rate. You see here, it just gets insane. I literally can't control that. It just goes to the moon, and that's just one of the firmware bonuses. Then we also have this GOO FJFC action skill cooldown rate, action skill damage. And the third line over there is action skill cooldown rate increased by an additional 20%. So you can see that's 30% cooldown we're getting just from having the firmware. Well, if we had 3 out of 3 into the GOO JFC. So these are nice bonuses to have, and just to understand a little bit about the system, because they don't really explain it to you all that much. Items just start dropping with these things on them, and you don't really take note of them. So that's why I want to show you guys. This is another one, God Killer. This one actually gives you damage against badasses and damage reduction against badasses. There's a whole lot of different firmwares. I'll have this link down below in the description for you guys. This is on max roll. You can see here is the names of the different firmwares: 1-piece set, 2-piece set, and 3-piece set. You can see if you go all the way through here, there is a ton. There's the God Killer one that I was just talking about. Damage dealt to badasses, enemies increased by 10%. Damage taken from badass enemies reduced by 10%. And then on killing a badass enemy, damage dealt is increased by 20% for 60 seconds. This is a really good one versus badasses. You do more damage, you take less damage, and then all your damage is increased for a minute every time you kill one. So when you're out mobbing and stuff, killing badasses, you will pretty much have this up all the time. There's the GOO JFC one for the action skill cooldown rate. If you come down, there's Real Big Fist. This one has melee damage increased by 15%. More damage increased by 25%, and then melee kills trigger a Nova explosion for 200% melee damage. So if you're building like a melee Rafa, this could make you do some crazy melee damage over there. So just keep in mind that there is this firmware and all these crazy bonuses. This is really just for like super min-maxing later on. I just want to let you guys know about this system, and so you can start saving them, because let me show you guys what I got in my bank. Have a look at my bank here. Let me show you all this firmware that I have been saving up. I pretty much just send anything to my bank that has firmware on it. You can also sort this with filter. If you come over to traits and you go firmware, and this is going to show you only stuff that actually has firmware on it. You can see I have stuff here. I believe I even have white stuff with firmware on. Yeah, if we go rarity, go down, up, you can see, yeah, literally anything that has firmware on it, I'm going ahead and saving. And there's also a really easy way to identify what has firmware on it on the ground. So let me show you that as well. So we come in here. Let me drop something that has firmware. So let's go ahead and drop this. And then you see the beam, it has like a little glitch in it. You can see that, you can definitely see the glitches there in the beam like that. That means that the item has firmware on it. So instead of picking it up as junk, which I'm sure you do a lot of the time to go ahead and sell to make money, I do it as well. You press Q. Instead of doing that, just pick it up, because you can see right away that it actually has firmware on it. So make sure you are saving those. Go ahead and save that. And the reason you want to just start saving all these things for firmware is because of this little machine right here. Because with this machine, you can actually transfer over the firmware to different gear. So the first slot over here, when you click this is going to be the firmware that it's going to pull off of the item. So like, for example, this over here is a grenade ordnance. And another thing to keep in mind is you can only put this matching items onto matching items. So it can be any firmware, but a grenade ordnance can only be placed onto a grenade ordnance with its firmware. So for example, God Killer here is a really nice one. Go ahead and put that. This item will also be destroyed, so that's why I said you can pick up whites. It doesn't matter what item you pick up. The item with the firmware that you're transferring is going to be destroyed, but the item you transfer to will get the firmware. So for example, this is currently equipped. You see, this is my Jacob's knife, my damage amp knife. Go ahead, equip that. And this will be the output, so the result of the craft is going to be my Jacob's knife with God Killer. It's going to cost a little bit of iridium and a little bit of cash. But go ahead, transfer. It's going to make double sure, just so you don't delete the wrong items on accident. Hit continue, and there we go. Now I have my transfer complete. My Jacob's knife has gotten the exploder with the Atlas on it. So we go out of here. Let's come back into my inventory. See, my new Jacob's knife now has God Killer and is showing up inside. Damage dealt to badass enemies increased by 10%. So the only catch to the system is that you can only put the parts on the corresponding parts. So like you can only take the ordnance like I showed you guys over here. Grenade goes on grenade. Also, once you have transferred something onto the item, you can't transfer anything off of the item. But I believe you can transfer a new thing onto it. So here's another grenade. Let's go, yeah. So you can overwrite your old one if you want to overwrite the old one, but you can't just carry this God Killer with you forever. So it's not like you just find one on every item and you can save it forever. You can overwrite it though. So if you find like a different build or you want to use the same, for example, this Jacob's knife, I can pretty much use on all my characters because it has the damage amp, which is really strong. And these things are like really rare. If I wanted to change it over to a different character and use a different firmware, you can go ahead and change the firmware. You always just lose the item that you're pulling the firmware from. Oh, future editing Augie, I totally forgot to mention to you guys where you can actually farm a ton of firmware. It's going to be from the Splash Zone boss fight, which is like the very first boss you have to fight. It's super quick to get to him and then just hit the encore machine. You can literally run to him, kill him in like 5 seconds, jump over the bridge and go restart it again. You can just run back and forth. And as you can see in the background there, I put in a clip of me farming it for a couple of minutes and there is just so much loot all over the place. It's a great way to farm some cash, iridium, as well as just hunting all the different firmware perks. So you can just go ahead and pick up all the different ones that you see with the little glitchy beam that I have told you guys about. All right, I'm out. So that's really all there is to know about firmware. It just gives you a nice little bonus. It's not a massive bonus. Usually the 1 and 2 set aren't like anything crazy, but the 3 piece is pretty crazy. So you could go with like 2 2-pieces and a 1 piece, or 3 1 1 like I'm doing over here. You could even go with like a 3 2-piece, depending on what you need for your build. It's just like nice ways to fine tune your characters. I would say don't worry about this until you've gotten, you know, like your character pretty much min-max to where you want it. And then this will be the final step for you to go ahead and min-max. The only thing I want you guys to do from now on is be aware of the firmware and start sending it to your bank. You can also just send stuff to your bank immediately. So if you're out farming and you see the beam like I showed you guys before, has firmware on it, go ahead, mark it for bank like we just did over there. So you right click it, mark bank, and send items to bank. There you go, you have that firmware saved. It's going to go straight to your bank and you can just start stacking up on all the firmware you may need. That's going to be it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully it helped you out and you now understand how firmware works. Just a nice little side system to get all that little bit more power out of your character that you can. If it helped you guys out, if it did, please drop a like and sub to the channel. Helps me out so much, and I'll catch you beautiful people in the next one. Augiesaint out.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the